Welcome to 3 News Plus. I'm Barbi Leo. In complex and frightening times, it's natural that the world seems like a more dangerous place than ever before. Understanding the realities of human trafficking will help you to not only keep you and your family safe, but to become an effective advocate for the safety of all families in our community. Minto Moore with a New Life Refuge and Captain Samantha Baldwin with Narcotics Vice Division with CCPD joins us to talk about how to prevent, identify, and report human trafficking. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Let's start off by talking about what human trafficking is exactly.
Well, I mean, by definition, federal definition for child trafficking, it is the exchange of anything of value for a sexual act. So that could be a bottle of water. So anything that has value for somebody that's under the age of 18, and if somebody's over the age of 18, then force, fraud, or coercion has to be present and provable for it to be trafficking. You may want to add some to that.
No, it's really about the same. I mean, it's really getting them to give something for something. I mean, it's kind of that tit for tat.
And who is at risk?
Really, anybody could be at risk. They're really looking for more vulnerable subjects. So somebody, it could be a mental or physical disability, somebody who's just in financial aid or needing financial assistance, anything like that that kind of puts them in a vulnerable state. We see that around, we talked about spring break coming up, or now the summertime. It could really be, those that get too intoxicated and kind of lose their mind at that point, and they become more vulnerable at that point.
And who are the traffickers?
I mean, they can be really anybody.
Anybody.
I mean, anybody looking to make money, really, and exploit the individuals is really what we're seeing from the traffic. It's not really one organization, it's multiple.
And Captain Baldwin, your message to those that are watching us right now and are thinking, does it even happen here? Is it even going on here in my backyard? Your message to them.
It absolutely does. It's not as widespread as people sometimes think when you look at the TV. They make it a little bit more than we see it, but it absolutely does happen here. We've had successful prosecutions of cases here involving both child and adult human trafficking.
And what are the indicators? If you can give us some red flags, what should we be looking out for?
Well, for minors, I mean, something that would be maybe like a change in personal items that they have. Suddenly they have things that are more expensive, a change of friends, or being kind of drawn away from their family, more isolated by a new individual in their life. Maybe it's seemingly a boyfriend or something like that is working to sort of isolate them. And so those can just be some indicators. They're skipping school. Obviously, we're getting ready to be out for the summer. And it just really changes in their normal behavior, withdrawing from family and really wanting to spend just a lot more time with this new individual. Could, obviously be indicators, change in the way that they dress, just things like that.
I think that education is vital. We have to educate our children.
Absolutely.
How do we even start the conversation? As a parent, what do you do? How do you start it?
Education is something that we do a lot of at New Life Refuge. We do believe that it is paramount because education is the key to putting an end to this. If our young people know what and how traffickers work, then they can be savvy. And, you could just start the conversation, around the dinner table, age appropriately. We have some great materials and such, but just to, there's people out there that want to do nefarious things to you or bad things to you. And, let's talk about what that might look like. It might look like somebody that's looking like a friend of yours, a new friend, or somebody that's just entered your friend group, or dropping you a message on Instagram, or striking up a conversation about they love your pictures on Instagram, things like that. So,
and I know that New Life Refuge has been an amazing resource here in the Coastal Bend, and y'all have an amazing collaboration. If you could talk to us about that collaboration.
Sure.
And that really comes down to that is, whenever we have a case, we're reaching out to our NGOs and our nonprofits to help us because we don't have those resources. New Life Refuge is one of the big ones that we use, but there's several that we collaborate with. And they provide resources, they provide that training, A lot of times they can get them to open up where they don't want to open up to us, because that's the biggest thing with us is we're the law enforcement, and so they think they're in trouble, and a lot of times we get that wall where they don't want to talk to us, and they'll deny that anything's going on, so we can kind of help break down those barriers by using these other agencies to help us out.
It definitely takes a group effort, and again, we're so glad that we have the resource like New Life Refuge here in the Coastal Bend. When did you see the need, that there had to be a need, that there needed to be a need here in the Coastal Bend for a place like New Life Refuge?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I saw the need before I felt the call to do this work. And I knew that there was a need nationwide. I didn't necessarily know that, how it affected our community, because we're talking back in the early 2000s. People just felt like this happened overseas. And so as we began the work, we did start to see the need, and we've had opportunity to train law enforcement. Our first training we did was back in 2016, and I feel like that was a really a powerful training, because they were just starting to understand and see how it was affecting our community. And we had folks in from other areas of the country that did the trainings and that had seen it a lot more in their larger cities, like Washington, D.C. and New York and things like that. And so I think that once your eyes are open to how it happens and what it looks like, you do begin to see it in the areas around you and understand that maybe this situation that I thought was strange was actually, now looking back, probably a trafficking situation.
Right, for sure, absolutely. And I think it comes down to them opening our eyes, and it helps us to see and be able to put that message out a little bit more. And then it just gets worse with social media. I think we talked a little bit about that, and the electronic means that are out there for them to reach out to both the young and the adults. I mean, that's where they're making a lot of those contacts, is through social media, and they're reaching out to them, and then they kind of start to isolate from their norm and move over into the new realm of society.
And I'm glad that you brought up social media, because it is, of course, everywhere. We see kids that are 1-2 years old with a device. As a parent, advice that you can give to us as parents: what can we look out for? How can we prevent it? What should we be practicing with our children to make them safer, and just our family safer online?
Keep them away.
Don't give them a phone.
Yeah, I mean, really, just go back to a dumb phone. If you have if you've got a middle schooler that is, maybe going to soccer practice and might need to call you when it's over, there's no need for them to have the smartphone. I mean, basically, you're handing the world to a young child at that point, and it's very dangerous. Let them go outside and play, ride their bikes.
And you're right. As a parent, my daughter doesn't have a phone, and I didn't even know that. She received a game. I think it was a Nintendo something for Christmas, and my brother said, "Make sure that you get the parental control on that." I mean, what do you mean? It's just a game. I'm thinking they're just playing a game. No, they can access the internet. I had no idea. See, things like this, I feel like we need to all be aware, because
yes.
if another parent didn't have a brother or sister to tell them, hey, make sure that you do this, they're not going to do it, and they already have that access.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to find games or even MP3 players these days that don't have internet access.
And a lot of them have built-in chat groups, and so they're in there. You think they're just playing that game, Roblox, whatever it is, and they have their own little separate chat group where they can go in there and talk, and other people can infiltrate that group too. So you have to just watch what they're doing. I mean, it really comes down to monitoring and supervising what they're doing.
That is exactly it, because even with the apps that are supposed to be just for kids and kid-friendly, I found myself, that's another reason why I wanted to have you ladies here with me today, because there's a lot of things that I'm finding out as I go. I monitor, she has to be next to me. I kind of casually look every now and again, and she was on a kid's app and something inappropriate came up, and I said, "What are you looking at?" And I grabbed her device, and it was a children's app. It was an app for children, but there was inappropriate things there. So it's everywhere, and you cannot be too careful. I want to talk about how we as a community, I know that, you do your work and you do your work, and thank you for the collaboration and everything that you do, but how can we be eyes and ears? How can we help you do your job?
I would say just get educated. Just get educated on what it looks like and how to recognize it and what to do if you suspect it. Things like that, who do you call? Do you call 911? If it's an emergency, of course, call 911. If it's a suspected trafficking, you may want to turn it into the trafficking hotline. Or, if it's, there's, you probably
the proper
can answer that way
steps,
better
yes.
than I can.
And there's so many different avenues, but if you see something, say something. So I mean, that's the biggest thing, is if you see something that doesn't look normal, whether it's your child or somebody else, sometimes it may be in the mall and you just see that relationship that just looks odd, right? With an older person and a young kid that doesn't just match up. Anything like that, if it puts your kind of uneasy feeling, then you should say something. And let us be the ones to investigate and see. It may be nothing, but there could be something more to it. And there's plenty of places to report that. I think you're going to put up the hotline number here, but we have Crime Stoppers here locally that'll take that. If it's where you think the person is at risk immediately, absolutely 911 is always appropriate. But there's other resources out there. Blue Campaign is one that we collaborate with, and that's Homeland Security with law enforcement and NGOs and operate, and that's education. So you can go on there and you can get educational stuff, what to look for. We work with the Transit Authority, so RTA puts their stuff up. All the different businesses, massage places, nail places, you see, stop anything to spot those trends, and you're seeing those flyers up to kind of get people to start thinking about it. Really.
For those that feel that maybe they know of something and they want to say something but they're afraid, is there a way that they can report this anonymously?
Crime Stoppers is absolutely anonymous. So Crime Stoppers, you can go online, you can call the local number here. Either one, it's anonymous. You don't have to give any names, information. You just put the information that you have out there, and then we investigate it from there.
Minta, I know that you mentioned earlier that when it comes to New Life Refuge, you had a calling, and that's why it started. If you could tell us more about that.
Well, I mean, I first learned of child trafficking when it was like 2007, and I know that specifically because my children were 6. I have twins, and they were 6, and I was reading a magazine article about a woman, a congresswoman, who had gone to Mumbai, India, at the request of one of her constituents. Turns out that was Ernie Allen, who started the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And he told her, you need to go see what's happening there. And she was hesitant to go, as you can imagine. She was like, I know what happens in the red light districts. But she goes, and what she saw was far more than she ever anticipated. It involved something with a 6-year-old child. And I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine a life so horrific for anybody, but especially somebody so young. And that just really started pulling at my heartstrings. And, I didn't really know what to do with that, how I was going to affect change. I mean, I wasn't in a position to move to India by any stretch of the imagination. But through a lot of prayer and just trying different things, it kind of led me to where I am to now. And we run a long-term therapeutic home for girls that have been trafficked, and then of course the educational piece is a huge part of what we do too, because we really don't want this to ever happen to any child. And we know getting the information to them and educating them is very important.
Absolutely. Tell us more about the resources that New Life Refuge offers here in the Coastal Bend.
The resources. So, besides the long-term therapeutic home, we do a lot of referrals. We get calls all the time, like, where can I connect this? Are there programs for adults? Where are programs for adults? Things of that nature. Of course, I mean, we get people calling us that should be calling law enforcement. And so, of course, we then turn those over to our Internet Crimes Against Children, usually task force or group. And so those are kind of some of the other resources that we're doing besides just our education in the schools. We go to civic organizations, churches, youth groups, So just about anywhere we're asked to go. Optometrist conference in South Padre this summer. So we'll be speaking down in South Padre, to a group of optometrists. So yeah, it just kind of looks a lot of different ways.
I think that you get most of the calls because, like Captain Baldwin mentioned, a lot of the times they don't want to go to law enforcement right away, but you are that middle person, and thankfully so. Thankfully so. I know that throughout the years that New Life Refuge has been a part of the Coastal Bend, you've seen so many cases, you've seen so many things. If you could share with us one that maybe something that impacted you, one of the cases that have impacted you the most.
We served a really sweet young girl that was here out of the Coastal Bend, and she was really struggling at that time, and as they do. I mean, that type of trauma just fractures the brain, and so we were able to help her through that, and she eventually moved on, and she sent us an email just a few weeks ago about. Really, she was apologizing for her behavior while she was with us and talked about how much she loved everybody there and that we just really helped her more than we'll ever know. And so it's times like that, you're just like, it's all worth it. It makes it all worth it. Because the work is hard. Once that trauma has happened, that work is difficult to help somebody get through that. But when they do, that it's very rewarding.
Now, if someone out there is watching this interview and saying, I want to be a part of that, I want to help some way, somehow, I'm sure you always are in need of volunteers.
Sure, absolutely. newliferefuge.com, there's a how to get involved tab, and just hit that and go down to volunteer.
And for those that are in the situation, what is your advice? How can they get out of that situation?
There is help.
Yeah.
There is a lot of help.
It's wanting the help and then knowing that the help's there. That's the biggest thing, is knowing the help's there, because they kind of have that economic stability in the situation that they're in a lot of times. And so they're afraid to leave that because that's where their money's coming from. That's where their stability's coming from. And just knowing there's resources out there that are going to help you get back on your feet and do so and get past all of the trauma. And live a normal life instead of what they're kind of sheltered in at that point and kind of stuck.
Do you think that for the most part, a lot of these victims feel that there is no help and that this is it for them?
Sometimes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's that hopeless feeling. Absolutely.
So it is very important for them to know that there is help. And that's why we had you both here today, because there is. And we will definitely have the hotline number after this interview. You know, we need, again, to be the eyes and ears. We have to help our Corpus Christi Police Department. They can't do it alone. We have to accept the reality of what we are facing. We have to know our roles as parents and caregivers in protecting our children and our families, understanding the tactics that predators use, and of course, start the conversation. Start the conversation with your kids. Start the conversation with your family. It's all about getting educated, and we do have the resources to do so. All you have to do is call this lady right here. She is willing to help, and there's so many outreach programs that you have as well. Talk to us about the outreach program.
Oh, sure. So we do an outreach into the local juvenile detention center. We've done that for many, many years. We also do an outreach into the local clubs, the adult clubs. We have a group that goes in once a month. We have a men's group that does it's Cyber Patrol through the EPIC project, and they meet once a month.
It's summertime. You know, kids are out. We have to be, of course, always vigilant, especially when they're going to places where there's a lot of people, whether they're at games, concerts, etc. If you could give us some tips, some helpful tips for parents. What can we do with our children during the summer? How can we be extra safe?
And I think that's it, knowing where they're at and being that extra set of eyes so they know that you're watching them and that you don't leave them alone to venture off onto their own. That's generally when they start to splinter off, is when things start to happen. So keep them in the group. If they're going to go to one of those places, go with the group that they know that they're all going to stick together. is going to be better than them going alone to one of those places.
Now, are there things that we are doing that we shouldn't be doing? Because I hear this all the time. Don't put their name on their backpack or on their shirt.
I think, especially if you're going to give them a device, if they're going to have a phone or something like that, you should know their location. You should be sharing that information so you know where they're at. The air tags aren't a bad idea if they don't have a phone, because then at least if they do venture off, we have an idea of where they were at. More so. The names is a little bit more, because anybody that can then call them by name, especially if you're talking to younger kids, that they're going to kind of open up a little bit more and think, hey, this guy's safe because he knows my name, not realizing that they're getting the name off of the backpack or whatever. Same with any kind of sports teams or gaming stuff, anything that's going to intrigue their interest, and they can start talking about, oh, you like Roblox, well, let me talk about that. They may not know anything else about it, but just the fact that they saw that the kid's got a backpack with that on it, that could get an intro into that conversation to get them to start talking.
And something that I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if this is something that you looked into or that you've seen with AI. Is that something that you've seen or you've heard of?
We have not had any cases like that here locally. They can disguise their voices, of course, with AI, but to use their parents' voice or something like that, we haven't had anything like that. I've seen it in movies and stuff like that, I'm sure that technology is out there somewhere, but we haven't seen it here locally.
What I practice, and this is something that I heard as well, and it helps us, we talk to our daughter. We have a secret password. She chooses it. She changes it every month. Every month is a new password, but she tells her family, this is my password. And if I'm going to ask them, what's the password? And if they don't know that person was not sent from you, that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always a good thing, and that's that communication with the family, and having that safety word or safety net is always good, just to kind of keep them away from strangers. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the easiest thing to remember. Stay away from strangers. There is definitely help out there. We have resources here locally for you if you do need help, and please help our Corpus Christi Police Department be their eyes and ears as well, because we need to all do this together. We need to all be vigilant. Thank you so much, ladies. Anything else that you'd like to add?
One thing is, it's not always a stranger.
Right.
And often,
so true.
It's not always a stranger, and I think the stranger danger, we got very caught up in that, and then, but this guy is my friend. This girl really likes me, but she's the one that's actually the recruiter. And so, one thing that we would tell our kids if they would go out when they were in high school, if they ever felt uncomfortable in a situation, they could call us, and in that call they could say, oh my gosh, that's happened to grandma, or they had a code, and okay, I'll come home. Basically it was their way to get out. And then another thing you asked, when you're in a group, and I'm thinking of teenagers, and they're at the beach, and I'm not saying they're drinking underage, but they're having Cokes. They just don't ever want to leave their drink unattended, because things are put into drinks that incapacitate people and then obviously would make them very vulnerable. And so those are just some other practical things. But, unfortunately, more often than not, that trafficker spends a lot of time getting to know that child, and that child now thinks of them as a friend. Sure. And so it's real important that we just don't tell our kids it's strangers.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's true. It's usually, or a lot of the times, it's someone that's close to them, that they already trust. It could be a family friend. It could be a family member. It could be a friend of whomever. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
I think the recruiter age is going to probably come in more into play into teenage time, so not really on the playground with elementary school age. And as far as what to look for, I say anybody that's trying to really negatively influence your child, or try to get them to really change their habits and their ways, that could be
their circle. They want to change their circle to include them
and isolate them,
and isolate them from what they knew before. Know their parents. That's a lot. Anymore today, you don't know who your kids' parents are. That should be a sign. If they're hanging around with their other kids, you should know who those kids, where they live, who their parents are, so that if you need your child, you can always reach out to somebody else. But knowing that relationship, a lot of times you'll be able to recognize that as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Knowing your friend's parent, your kids' friends' parents.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And of course, if you need more information, whether it is human trafficking, we have the number on your screen. And also with the New Life Refuge, if you want to be educated, if you want to help out in any way, if you would like to volunteer, they're ready and willing to, of course, accept you because we need all the help that we can get. Ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.